All right, so we got to fill in this first blank. So the first blank here is called the y-intercept. And that's the y-coordinate of the point where the graph intersects the y-axis. So let me draw you a little sketch on the side here. You don't have to write this if you don't want, but I'll go over here. So if I drew you a little graph like this, let's say we had something like, so let's say we have a line that goes like this. That was supposed to go right through there and right through here. Okay, so what's the y-intercept? What's the y-coordinate of the point? Let me try this again. What's the y-coordinate of the point where the graph hits the y-axis? Yep. Yeah, it's 3. So that would be the point 0, 3. So the y-intercept would be 3. And then what's the x-coordinate of that point? Yeah. What's the... No, what's the x-coordinate of the point I got labeled? 0. So if you're at the y-intercept, you're on the y-axis. So any point on the y-axis will have an x-coordinate of 0. So that's the next blank. It says, what's the x value at that point? That's going to be 0. So in this blank right here, you're going to write in 0. All right, and then kind of the same thing, but the opposite thing would be, the next one we're looking for is the x-intercept. So fill that blank in. And the x-intercept, that is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. So on our picture over here, what would that be? What's the x-coordinate of that point on the left there? Negative 4, right? Negative 4. Be negative 4. So that's the x-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses or hits the x-axis. And then what's the y-coordinate there?
0.
At 0.
0.
So if you're anywhere, if any point is on the x-axis, then the y-coordinate is always going to be 0. So that's your next blank there. So this should say 0 right here. All right, and then let's look at examples 1 and 2. The first blank says, if you're given the graph, well, simply look at the graph to find the x and y intercepts. So I'm going to put the word look in here. And then the next statement, this is what you really do when you do the problems. If you plug in 0 for x, so you see that right here where it says plug in 0 for x? Here, I'll underline that for you guys. If you plug in 0 for x, you will find the y-intercept. I'll just abbreviate that. And then if you plug in 0 for y, that'll find you the x-intercept. And that's because of that picture that I drew you guys over here, right? So if you plug in 0 for x, and then solve for y, you'll find the y-intercept. If you plug in 0 for y, and then solve for x, that'll find you the x-intercept. So it's kind of like opposites. Plug in 0 for y, get the x-intercept. Plug in 0 for x, get the, I think I said it backwards. Plug in 0 for x, get the y-intercept. Plug in 0 for y, get the x-intercept. So that's how we're going to do the problems. That's what we're going to do on the whiteboards also. All right, so this first example here, well, I said if you give you the graph, you should just be able to read them off, right? So here's our graph. This is the x-axis right here. This is the y-axis right here. So then our y, well, let's do the x-intercept first. Our x-intercept is over here. Wait a minute, that's something. That's almost like the last one. It's almost the same thing I drew. I didn't mean to do that. So the x-intercept, I'll abbreviate it like that. What's the x-coordinate of that point right there? This point right here. What's the x-coordinate?
-3.
Look again.
-4.
There you go. So it's -4. So sometimes in a book they'll write x equals -4, meaning that's the x-coordinate of the point where the graph hits the x-axis. But I prefer you write it this way. That's -4 comma 0, right? I think that's better. Then we got to find the y-intercept. Well, again, if they give you the graph, you just got to look at it. It's right here, right? We're looking for the y-coordinate of the point where the graph hits the y-axis, or where the line hits the y-axis. So what's the y-coordinate right there? What's that? Yeah, it's 2. So that's just y equals 2. That's the y-intercept. But I would prefer that you guys write it this way. It's 0 comma 2. Are you guys good so far? Now, on number 2 here, they give you the equation. Well, that's where this thing comes in. This statement right here. It says, if given the equation, plug in 0 for x to find the y-intercept, and plug 0 in for y to find the x-intercept. So what I'm going to have you guys do with those is I'm going to have you guys make a little table like this. You're going to make a table, x and y, and then you're going to plug 0 in for x and 0 in for y, like that. So first I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So you guys see I'm putting 0 in right there? What's 5 times 0?
0.
So then just cover that up. Now solve that. What would you get for y?
-5.
No, you divide both sides by -2. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so you guys are right. Yeah, so you divide both sides by -2. Does everybody see that? So you would divide by -2 here, and you would divide by -2 there, and you would get -5. But let me undo all that. So you get -5. Then you want the x-intercept. So now you're going to put 0 in for y right here. Well, what's -2 times 0? 0. So that means just cover that up. Now solve that one. What do you get?
2.
Yeah. Divide both sides by 5. You get x equals 2. Let me undo all that. So you get x equals 2. Well, then you can graph your line, right? And we don't have to graph it on this one, I don't think, do we? There's no grid there. So you just had to find those 2 points. And for me, you can leave it in the table like that if you want. Or if you want to, you could say the x-intercept is at 2 comma 0. And the y-intercept is at 0 comma -5. All right. Then we just got to do a couple graphs, and I mean basically you just find those 2 points and then graph the line, then you're done. So let's do that. So this is talking about how we would graph these. So again, we're just going to find those 2 intercepts. So find the intercepts. That would be step 1. So fill that blank in with intercepts. So you find the x and y intercepts, and 2, you plot the points and graph the line. So I'll just write plot and graph. All right, so let's do it. So let's do this number 3 right here. We only got like 2 more examples, so this should go pretty quick. Get my cursor off the screen here. All right, so here we go. So we're going to make that little table again. With x and y, we're going to put 0 in for x, and we're going to put 0 in for y. That's it. So if I put 0 in for x, I'm putting 0 in right here. What's 3 times 0? 0, so cover that up. Then solve that. Good, yeah, you just divide both sides by -7. These cancel out, make a 1, so you get y equals -3. And then I didn't want to do that yet. I want to undo all this stuff. So -3. Then plug 0 in for y. So you put 0 right here. Oops, I didn't want that color. So put 0 in for y right there. -7 times 0?
0.
0. So cover that up. That's 0. That's gone. Solve that. Yep. Divide both sides by 3. You would get 7. X equals 7 because those would cancel out, right? All right, so then we just got to plot those 2 points. And let me get rid of this stuff right here. All right, so we're going to plot those 2 points. So the first one in red there, we got 0, -3. So that's 0 left or right and 3 down. So that's right there. And then in the blue there, we got 7, 0. So that's 7 to the right, 0 up or down. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, hold on. 3, 6, 7 right there, I think. And then we just graph our line. So connect those dots, go through them both, and put arrows on there, and you got it. What do you think? Easier than Friday stuff?
Yeah.
All right, I think we got what? 1 more maybe?
2.
2 more? Oh, we got 1 right here. Okay. Same thing on this one. So again, we're going to make that little table. So x and y. We're going to plug 0 in for x, 0 in for y. All right, this one, if you put 0 in for x, so you put 0 right here. What's the negative of 0? 0. So cover that up. You get y equals what?
4.
Yeah. You just get y equals 4. Now this one's a little bit more tricky to get the x-intercept. So you're going to plug in the 0 for the y. So you're going to take this 0 right here, and you're going to plug it in right there. So if you do that, that's going to look like 0 equals -x plus 4. Then you got to solve for x, right? So how do you solve that for x? Good, Ryan. Subtract 4 on both sides. Those cancel out over on the right. So now you got -4 equals -x. Well, we want just x, so how do we get rid of that negative? Good. Divide both sides by -1. These will cancel out, those negatives on the right-hand side, and we'll get x equals 4. So you get x equals 4, like that. Then we just plot those 2 points. So the red point there is 0, 4. So that's 0 left or right, 4 up. And then the blue point, that is 4, 0. That's just 4 right, and then 0 up or down. And then you just graph this line. Like that. You guys good with that? That was a little bit more tricky, but not too bad. I think we got to flip it, right? So So flip the page, and we got 1 to go. Now it's a word problem, but it's the same thing we just did. Now what is f of x the same as?
Y.
Yeah, that's the same as y right there, right? So really all we got here then is we got an equation that says y equals 200 minus 8x. And they want us to graph it, so we'll interpret it afterwards, but we got to graph it. So we're going to make that little table again. I guess that maybe I should leave some more room here. Hold on. Let me come down here. So we're going to put in 0 for x, 0 for y. All right, let's put the 0 in for x. So if I put 0 in for x, this would be a 0 right there, right? What's negative 8 times 0? 0. So then cover that up. That's just 0, so that's gone. What does y equal? 200. So let me undo that. Hold on. So it's 200. Then I got to plug the 0 in for the y. So that means I got to take this 0 right here, and I got to plug it in for the y right there. So that would look like 0 equals 200 minus 8x. And then I got to solve for x. So what would you guys do first? Dewan? Good. Minus 200 on both sides. Those 200s cancel out over there. 200 minus 200, that's 0. So now on the left-hand side, I got negative 200. On the right-hand side, don't forget the negative, okay? That minus right there, that implies that that's a negative 8. So on the right-hand side, I got a negative 8x. And then how do I finish? Good. Yep. Good, Dewan. Divide both sides by negative 8. Those cancel out, make a 1. So I get x equals, what's negative 200 divided by negative 8? What's that?
25.
Good. That's 25. So this is 25 right here. Now we just got to plot those 2 points. Of course, the only issue is we got to get to 200 on the y-axis, right? And we got to get to 25 on the x-axis. So I'm not even going to try to do it. Well, maybe I could do it with the grid. I don't know. What do I got here? I go 1, 2. You know what? I'm just going to make my own tick marks on this thing just to make it easier. We got to get to 200. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's say that's 200. So I'm counting by 20s, right? So each tick mark is 20. So that would be 40 right there. That would be 80. Does that make sense to you guys? I can't write. Hold on. That's supposed to say 80. There you go. This would be 20, 40, 60, 80. That'd be 100 right there, right? All right, and then I got to get to 25, right? You can see that right here. So my largest y value I needed was 200. My largest x value I need is 25. So I got to get to 25 on the x-axis. So to do that, let's go by 5s. So I'm just going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So that's 25. And then hopefully you guys heard me. I'm counting by 5. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20. All right. All right, so just plot those points now. So the first point here is the point 0, 200. Well, that's the red point. That is up here. And then the blue point there is 25, 0. Well, that's 25 to the right and then 0 up or down, so that's right here. And then you just graph your line. So your line looks like that. All right, so that's the graph. But it also talked about, well, it said find the intercepts. Well, we definitely did that also, right? We found the intercepts right here. But then it says, what do they mean? Well, let's see, how should I write them here? Let's write them off to the side where you can see it. So the first intercept there is the y-intercept. The first thing I probably should have told you this, is the x in this problem represents the number of seconds. So let's see if I can get a note on there somewhere for that. So x right here, that's the number of seconds. And basically somebody's running the 200-meter dash, and that would be the y would be the distance in meters. The x is the number of seconds that they're running. So if I write those two intercepts over here for you real quick, they would look like this. So the first intercept, the y-intercept, so the y-intercept, that would be 0 seconds, comma, 200 meters. And then the x-intercept, that is 25 seconds and 0 meters. And then we're supposed to, and you guys see where I'm getting those from, right? There's that y-intercept right there, 0, comma, 200. And there's the x-intercept, 25, comma, 0. So what do they mean? So at 0 seconds, you got 200 meters. So where are you at in your race? If you're going to run a 200-meter dash, when the time is 0 and the distance to the finish line is 200 meters, where are you at? I mean, think about it. If you're running the race, where are you? And then right here, this one, after 25 seconds, the distance remaining in the race is 0 meters. So where are you at? I mean, think physically of the race. What are you doing? Yeah. I mean, but where are you at? Where are you guys at right here? What are you doing in the race if it's 0 seconds and there's 200 meters to run still? At the what?
Hasn't started yet.
Yeah, it hasn't started yet. You're at the starting line, right? At 0 seconds, you're at the starting line and you got 200 meters to run. So that's the way I'm going to describe it. I mean, there's other ways you could too, but so you're at the starting line here. Does that make sense? Well, where are you at here then? Yeah, you're at the end. You're at the finish line, right? After 25 seconds, you got 0 meters left to run, so you're at the finish line. Or, I mean, you could also